But today felt like the perfect day to address a theory that many people out there have been speculating on, that Meghan Markle has lied about her age. Is she actually older?
For years, Samantha Markle has lived in the shadow of her famous half-sister. Older by more than a decade, she grew up with Meghan in California, saw her early years unfold, and carried the same family name long before palaces and glossy magazine covers entered the picture. Samantha has never been afraid to call out what she believes are distortions in Meghan's carefully polished narrative. She's written about it, spoken about it, and in 2025 she took it even further, reviving her defamation lawsuit. But this time, her words cut far deeper. This time, Samantha zeroed in on the one detail Meghan has guarded more fiercely than anything else: her true age.
There is a theory that's been out there for a while. It's been floating around. Royal fans are convinced Meghan Markle is lying about her age. In fact, they think she's older.
And if anyone would know, it's the half-sister who was there, who remembers those early years, who swears the timelines don't add up, who insists Meghan is older than the polished biography claims. Believe Samantha Markle or not, her voice forces people to take a second look, digging through records, photos, and a paper trail that seem to tell a story very different from the one stamped into the royal archives. Because if Samantha is right, Meghan isn't 44 at all. She's older, much older, and the cracks in her carefully constructed timeline don't begin with an interview or a document. They begin with a single image, a photograph.
And not a surprise here because, yeah, she lies a lot about her stuff. We've caught her in so many lies. Her own sister has come forward, her family, everybody is exposing the lies that she's been telling.
Not just any photograph, but one tucked away in the archives of Northwestern University. A salsa club snapshot from the early 2000s, young faces grinning, arms looped over shoulders. The kind of carefree photo every college student has buried in an old shoebox somewhere. And there she is, Meghan Markle, smiling casually in the back row. At first glance, nothing seems unusual, just another group memory frozen in time. But then you look closer, you start checking the names of the students standing right beside her. And that's when the picture shifts. Because many of those classmates weren't bright-eyed teenagers. They weren't even early 20-somethings. They were older, much older.
And it would only make sense that she might lie about this. Would it be such a big deal? Is it true? Well, thankfully, Steph the Alternate has compiled a slideshow. Let's actually get to the truth of this issue, and it's a surprise. Here we go.
Today, most of the people in that photo are in their early 50s. Let that sink in. These are classmates who graduated high school in the late 1980s, a full decade before Meghan's official 1999 graduation date. If Meghan was truly born in 1981, as palace records insist, her peers today should be in their early 40s. That would line up neatly. But the photo tells a different story. There she is, shoulder to shoulder with people now pushing 50. Could one or two older students explain the gap? Sure, universities attract transfers, late starters, even people returning after years away. But in this case, it wasn't just one or two. The majority of her classmates were significantly older.
But is this true? There is a rumor she's actually older, so let's examine what's out there. This is a copy of 17 magazine, and it was published in March of 1997. In it, it mentions our Megsy is from Los Angeles and that she was 21 years old at the time of publication.
In that photograph, Meghan's closest circle, her smiling companions, were almost a decade older than the age she claims. And that single snapshot rips the story wide open. This isn't rumor whispered in dark corners of the internet. This isn't tabloid chatter. It's a dated yearbook photo, plain, undeniable, and the math simply doesn't add up. Dig deeper into Northwestern's alumni records and the puzzle only grows stranger. Several of Meghan's supposed classmates list their high school diplomas from the late 1980s. Think about that. These people were walking across graduation stages while Meghan was supposedly still in elementary school. The timeline doesn't just bend, it breaks.
That would make her birth year at around 1976. However, why is it saying here she was born 5 years later in 1981? Is she 42 years old, or is she closer to 47 years old?
And yet, there they are, sharing classrooms, joining the same clubs, appearing with Meghan in university activities. The official record insists Meghan graduated from Immaculate Heart High School in 1999, perfectly lined up with her August 1981 birth year. But if that timeline were true, her peers should have been born in the early 1980s, not the early 1970s. Alumni newsletters confirm the overlap. Old LinkedIn pages trace the histories, and when you place those records beside Meghan's official biography, the two timelines crash head-on. So what does that leave us with? Just two possibilities. Either Meghan was some extraordinarily young freshman who by pure coincidence surrounded herself exclusively with classmates nearly a decade older, or the official timeline is wrong.
In a Newsweek article that looked at this very same question, it looked at what her sister, Samantha Markle, has said. Samantha has called out many of her lies. And about her age, in her book, Samantha Markle says in the diary of Princess Pushy's sister, she confirms the year of Meghan's birth is 1981, not 1976. So Meghan's own sister corroborates the official date as per Google.
Or option 2, the official birth date stamped across every royal biography isn't the full truth. On paper, Meghan's birthday is crystal clear, August 4th, 1981. It's in biographies, splashed across glossy magazine spreads, and carved into the royal archives. But outside those polished records, another set of dates whispers louder and louder. Some point to 1977. That would make Meghan 4 years older, turning 48 instead of 44. Others insist it's 1976, backed by a classmate who swears they graduated together, putting her at 49. And then there's the boldest claim of all, 1975. If that's true, Meghan isn't in her mid-40s at all. She's on the doorstep of 50.
A lot of people, though, say that Samantha Markle had since revealed Megsy's true age in her court documents as part of the defamation suit against her that's happening. This is false. Here you can see that Samantha is 58 years old, born in 1964. The court documents from Samantha, she confirms there is a 17-year difference in age, which would make Meghan's year of birth being 1981. So
a birth year that would place her at 50 today, perfectly aligned with the ages of those Northwestern classmates. And here's the kicker. None of these alternative dates come from government records. They surface instead in leaked alumni lists, old event programs, and scattered documents that refuse to match the official story. But these whispers aren't new. They've been circulating for nearly a decade, resurfacing every time Meghan steps back into the spotlight. And if even one of those earlier dates proves true, then Meghan's polished biography is missing a massive chunk of her life. We're talking about a 4 to 6 year gap, years that vanish completely from the royal record. Years where Meghan Markle, as far as the paperwork shows, simply doesn't exist. When a public figure's life is documented down to the smallest detail, missing years aren't an accident. They're a choice, a deliberate choice to keep something hidden. Think back to May 2019, when Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor was born. The world waited for every detail, his name, his place in the royal line, and of course the official paperwork. And there it was, his birth certificate, a legal document filed in the UK as royal tradition requires. On that certificate, Meghan was listed exactly as expected. Rachel Meghan, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. No surprises, no mystery, just a mother's name on her child's record. But then something strange happened. Within weeks, that official document was quietly altered. Her first names, Rachel Meghan, were erased. The line now read only, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. The palace brushed it off as nothing more than a bureaucratic tweak, claiming it was for consistency with other royal documents. But behind the scenes, insiders were baffled. No other royal mother had ever had her own name scrubbed from her child's birth certificate, and that's where the real weight of this lies. Official documents aren't casual things. They're not Instagram bios you edit for aesthetics. They are legal, binding records. And they don't change unless someone has both the power and the motive to make it happen. This one alteration didn't prove Meghan's true age, but it proved something more dangerous. Her official records can be rewritten. Her records can be edited quietly behind closed doors with no explanation at all. And if a royal birth certificate can be rewritten in a matter of days, then what about the records from long before Meghan ever set foot in Buckingham Palace? What else might have been adjusted years earlier to fit the polished biography we've all been fed? Every public figure leaves a paper trail. School portraits, yearbook scans, graduation photos, For most people, these surface in messy stacks, pulled out at reunions or dug up by relatives. But with Meghan Markle, her early snapshots don't just appear, they're curated. A senior photo from Immaculate Heart High School in 1999, a carefully released group shot of classmates in uniform. Nothing casual, nothing organic, always selective, always controlled. These photos don't surface naturally, they reappear at precise moments, when Meghan's royal biography is rolled out, when a controversial interview drops, or when speculation about her age flares up again. It's as if someone is holding these snapshots in reserve, ready to deal them out like playing cards whenever the narrative needs reinforcement. Sources say some of the images trace directly back to alumni archives. Others were handed over by classmates who stayed silent for years until suddenly the spotlight hit and their photos magically appeared everywhere. To the casual observer, it all looks like harmless nostalgia, but for those paying closer attention, it feels calculated, like fragments of the past are being strategically deployed to send a message. See, she really was just a teenager in 1999. If the past can be curated in photos just as the present can be rewritten in documents, then the bigger question is this: how much of Meghan's early life do we only see when we're meant to see it? And what if she wasn't really born in 1981, but in 1977, 1976, or even 1975? That would leave 4 to 6 years missing from the official record. Years we've never been shown. Years where Meghan doesn't appear anywhere in the polished timelines carefully pushed to the public. For most people, a few quiet years wouldn't matter. But for a public figure whose life is packaged like a brand, those gaps carry heavy weight. Why cut them out? Why compress the timeline? And most of all, what's hidden inside those missing years? Word from those who knew her in Los Angeles suggests this was the period when Meghan's image began to take shape, auditioning, networking, carefully building connections, and if she was older than the official record claims, trimming those years would have made her appear fresher, more marketable, perfectly aligned with Hollywood's obsession with youth. In other words, the missing years weren't lost, they were erased, and by now the pattern is hard to ignore. Classmates who don't match her timeline, documents that can be rewritten, photos that appear only when convenient, lawsuits that resurface old rumors, and gaps in her life story where the truth simply isn't on record. Taken alone, maybe each detail could be dismissed. Maybe she just had older friends. Maybe the certificate edit was routine. But stack them together, and the cracks in the official story start to widen. Maybe those photos were shared out of pure nostalgia, but stack them together and they don't look like coincidences. They form a system designed not just to tell Meghan's story, but to manage it, polish it, brand it. Because Meghan Markle isn't just a public figure, she's a brand built on image, on control, on the meticulous shaping of every detail, right down to the very year she was born. And once you see it that way, the question changes completely. It's no longer just, is Meghan Markle older than she claims? The real question becomes, how much of her life is a carefully crafted brand, and how much of it is the truth?